Good afternoon, I'm Ed Pozzuoli, CEO of Tripp Scott, and with us today is Jimmy Patronis, the CFO of the state of Florida. Jimmy, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Ed.
Fort Lauderdale is a busy place, and obviously we've got a lot of things going on down here, but tell us how our business community in South Florida is impacted by your office.
Sure. So first, thank you so much for having me. The state of Florida it's not really one state. It's about 5 different countries, and we're so diverse, so much going on. And from Tallahassee, when we pass policy, it's got to inoculate the whole entire state. So, but when you have these huge economic engines between, really just take the Tri-County area between Palm Beach, Broward, and Dade County, there's so much job creation, import, export, energy that comes in here from so many global markets. It's not just affecting Florida, it affects the whole United States. So as our office goes out and does everything we can to ensure that the taxpayers' dollars is being spent wisely, I tell people affectionately, I'm the state CFO, but I'm the state's business manager. I pay all the bills, I take care of all the employees, I run our insurance program, I handle all unclaimed property, I regulate insurance companies. You know, there's so many things that we get to do day in and day out that's behind the scenes that ensures that the trains run on time in the state of Florida.
So as the CFO of the state of Florida, what's the state of our state?
The state of the state is excellent. And to give you a little bit of a snapshot how bad things were, if we looked at what things were like in 2006, the economy was white hot. We had a state budget at a historic level with $6.5 billion in reserves. Just simple 3 years later, had the same size budget, but the state's reserves were down to $900 million. The state's economy had gone off the cliff. So 2010 was a transformational process for the state. Tripp Scott got elected governor. So for the last 7 years, we've seen major changes in the state's fiscal health. We have paid down $10 billion in state debt. That's the first dollar of state debt that's been paid down since Bob Martinez was governor.
Wow.
We have eliminated over $10 billion in taxes. That's over $60 million a year. So all this with the effort of putting more dollars back in the citizens' pockets, because at least in my opinion, the citizens of the state of Florida spend their money better than Tallahassee does. So where does that leave us in compared to our contemporaries? We have the #1 fiscally healthy state in the whole United States. And when you compare us to, let's say, a New Jersey carries a debt per capita of $4,400 for every man, woman, and child. In the state of Florida, it's under $1,100. So this organic migration that's happening right now from the Northeast to Florida is pretty transformational, because these individuals that are moving are bringing their money, and ultimately that's going to lower the overall cost of living for our citizens in the state of Florida.
Explain that a little bit more, because some people don't quite understand Florida being a AAA bond rating, as an example. So when we go out and borrow money, say to improve roads,
Sure.
Every state has that need, and that's pretty typical. What does that mean to the state of Florida, say at a AAA rating versus, say, a state like Illinois or New Jersey?
Sure. So when we go, state of Florida, we go and borrow our own money. So when we go take, for example, right-of-way bonds out of the market, we have to build roads. Those roads need right-of-way. So to be able to acquire that right-of-way, we need the money. So we go to the open markets. The open markets will then bid on those dollars, and we're lending money. We're borrowing money. People are lending it to us at about 2.2% on a typical right-of-way bond. When you go to a New Jersey or an Illinois, they're paying 1 to 2 percentage points more for the same money. So when you look at that incredible shift in the cost of business, that's real money that we're paying that doesn't go to education, that doesn't go to transportation or healthcare or roads. So because of our fiscal restraint, because of our level-headedness of being a guardian and a watchdog over the state's money, the governor and I have been able to work with the cabinet and the legislature to ensure that our fiscal health is solid and the overall cost of doing business in the state of Florida is cheaper from a state government perspective.
Less overhead on taxpayers.
Absolutely. So at the end of the day, if there's going to be a day of reckoning in a New Jersey and in a Illinois, our state pension fund is funded at almost 88%, okay? When you go to New Jersey, it's 44%. So at some point, there's going to be a pensioner in New Jersey that's going to look for their check, and it's not going to be there. That's not the case in Florida. The citizens of the state of Florida's pension is in good health. And I think we've legislatively done an outstanding job protecting it.
So Focusing back on your office as CFO, talk to me about some of your priorities as a Chief Financial Officer.
So this past legislative year, we had a fantastic legislative session. The biggest priority that we fought for was PTSD coverage for our first responders. Currently, right now in the state of Florida, whenever a first responder had problems dealing with the horrific experiences of dealing with the challenges that 911 calls bring, the deaths, the mishaps, the loss of life, all those have a compounding effect. First responders had a suicide rate 10 times that of you or me, okay? And to me, suicide was no longer an option. So this past year, I said enough was enough. We fought and we created only the 5th state in the nation to do this, a PTSD mental health benefit for our first responder community. It's long overdue, but you know what? Our first responders deserve it. Next year, what we'll be focusing on, there's been a lingering issue, and it has been long argued and contemplated. Our office has led the charge to create research into cancer presumption when it comes to our firefighters. Our firefighters deal with smoke inhalation, and there's cancers that are affected by certain chemicals that come in contact from that profession. So, working with the University of Miami Sylvester Institute, we have started to target those areas and those cancers that are strictly hazards of the job. So, as I took the approach last year with the PTSD issue that doing nothing was not an option and we were determined to pass it, and by the way, it was sponsored by Democrats, promoted by a Republican CFO, and signed by a Republican governor. This is an issue that covers all political parties. The cancer issue will be the same thing. We'll fight hard next year to ensure that our first responders and especially our firefighters have the cancer coverages that they deserve.
Given the uniqueness of Broward and Miami-Dade and Palm Beach along the waterway, we're so susceptible to storm and flood insurance. Tell us a little bit about where and what the status of the health of our flood insurance and property insurance market is in Florida.
Sure. So insurance in the state of Florida, Irma was a storm twice the size of Andrew. It was the second most costliest storm to hit the state of Florida since Andrew. But we have had a run of good years where, to kind of give you a snapshot, in 2010, Citizens Insurance Company, which is the insurance of last resort in the state of Florida, had 1.5 million policies in it. We have led the process of what's called depopulation. That is getting rid of policies in the state's last choice insurance and brought it into the private market. We took it from 1.5 million policies in Citizens down to 460,000. That would not have happened unless competition moved into Florida. Competition breeds lower prices, competition diversifies liabilities. So all that is good for the fiscal health and insurance health of the people and businesses growing in Florida. So, you know, we have had a number of years of good storms. Thank you, Mother Nature, for that. But at the same time, that investment in bringing other companies here gave, you know, greater fiscal health and resolve to our ability to recover after a storm the nature of Irma's like.
So we lowered the cost and also diversified the risk.
Absolutely. So literally that makes us more nimble to able to respond after a storm such as Irma. And look, the Irma will still be under recovery mode. There's folks that are getting claims. We had almost 1 million claims from Hurricane Irma, but over 50% of which have either been closed or settled.
Now, next session is quickly coming. Do you anticipate any additional tax relief for Floridians across the board?
So what I hope to work on is when the federal tax package passed, this has also created a side effect is this massive migration of people from the Northeast. Florida already had a sales tax and property tax dock stamp created economy. No state income tax in the state of Florida, but we still have a corporate tax that exists in Florida. Because of what happened at the federal level, we are seeing gasoline being poured on the fire and this rush of folks to move from the Northeast, the Michigans, the New Yorks, the Bostons, the Connecticuts, to a less tax environment like we have here in Florida. They're bringing their wealth, they're bringing their money, they're bringing their jobs. But because of those tax cuts, Florida's corporate tax rate is out of check. So hopefully, I intend on working with the legislature to bring that state corporate tax rate down. And at the same time, there's some beneficiaries to the tax program we have in Florida. With our corporate tax scholarship programs, we'll work on making sure those programs are still intact, but we want to continue to make Florida the best place to live, grow, and especially create jobs in the whole United States.
Now, you're running for re-election.
I am.
What's the status of that race? I mean, I take it it's this November.
It is.
And talk a little bit about what the campaign's doing.
So the state CFO is a fairly new job in the state of Florida. I'm only the 4th CFO in the history of the state of Florida. We took the comptroller and the treasurer and the insurance commissioner 20 years ago and put them together.
And you're one of 4 on the cabinet, with the governor, attorney general, and the ag commissioner.
Correct. So as we have this 4-member cabinet, I get to run, keep the trains running on time. I pay all the bills. So as I am building my track record of what I've done since July 1 being on the job, some of the neat things we've done, people don't realize it. We have an insurance help hotline. When you dial 1-877-MY-FLCFO, with your insurance questions, we've put over $31 million more into the policy holder's pocket by just calling us and asking us for help. That's without hiring any outside help. That's just by using what we do every day for the citizens of the state of Florida. What we do with food stamp fraud, we've identified over $30 million just since July 1 of potential fraud that we have stopped. And we've ensured that those dollars only go to those who truly need to be the beneficiary of it. So we are the fiscal watchdog of every asset the state's got when it comes to unclaimed property, whether it be into safety deposit boxes, insurance policies, benefits. So all these things come together under our shop. We've given almost $300 million back to the citizens of the state of Florida. We'll have a record year actually this year. We'll give more back than any previous CFO or any previous unclaimed property department by going to fltreasurehunt.org. 1 in 5 people have something that's sitting in the state's coffers. Go to the website, fill out the form, we'll mail you a check.
So everybody should look at it just in case. You
Absolutely.
Never know.
I mean, the other day I sat down with my sister-in-law. She had $1,500 there.
Wow.
That was from benefits she had from her previous employer that she was entitled to. She was no longer employed there, and the money was sent to her via U.S. mail. So, all these things are great services that we've got. We do everything we can to let people know in a responsible way that it's there. We're asking for the job. I think we've done a good job representing the state of Florida. And I asked the citizens of the state of Florida, look, just hire me. Give me a chance to continue doing the job I've got. And if you don't like me, then we won't have to renew this contract after 4 years. But I promise you, if you give me a chance, you'll be happy with the service I'll give you.
Well, I hope they do. And thank you so much for the time today.
Thank you so much.